Oh, my dad. We are live.
All right, we are live.
I did put an advert on my channel. I've put a thing to say, come, hi Ollie and Jay, come
Hi,
here,
everybody.
like, and put your link in case they go to my channel by accident.
Okay, trying to see if I want to get the chat set up, and it's still showing that damn picture. I thought I changed it, the Journey to Love thing.
Oh yeah, you can change it after.
Yeah, I will. All right. Okay, so you guys, we are live. Okay. Hey, Ari J, and Robin, you guys are the first ones here.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, everybody. How are y'all doing? Hey, Lisa, how are you?
It's a bit of a synchro sort of, don't really call it psychic, but paranormal synchro day for sure for me today.
Yeah. Okay, Anton's here. Hey, happy birthday,
Anton. Anton, you should have been on my earlier live. You would have got sang to by a professional singer. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Michael's here. Melanie's here. Okay, good. All right, you guys. So we're going to talk today about shadow work. So, yeah. So anyways, lost my voice.
Your voice is kind of ready.
Yeah. Okay. So you were at work. Okay. Well, I haven't watched it yet either. So I'm going to have that was working.
Yes. Sorry, shameless plug.
I'm going to have to watch it. Apparently she did some really cool things. So
you got to watch it.
Yeah. So, you want to sing him happy birthday?
I can't sing.
I thought you said you were going to sing with me.
No, you said you were going to sing with him, not me.
I can't. My voice is all like cracking and stuff. You guys, okay, I'm going to sing only because I like Anton, and don't make fun of me, please. Okay, are you sure you're not going to like sing?
Go on then. I can't sing, but
I can't either.
Everybody sing.
Everybody sing. We can't hear anybody. It's just going to be me and you. All right, Anton, this is only for you, okay? Excuse me. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry I'm laughing so hard. Okay, here we go. All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Anton.
And my dad. Happy birthday
to you.
Michelle has got a better voice than me. I can hear it.
Oh, God. Okay. Now I'm laughing so hard.
I've gone hot. But yeah.
My cheeks are all like, look how red my cheeks are. Like,
I would gladly sing. Probably if I could sing, I would sing for people, but I'm not a singer, as you can tell. But there you go, Anton. Michelle did promise that.
I did. I told you I would sing, so I had to do it. All right, you guys. Obviously, after I've made a big fool of myself.
That's funny. That's good.
Okay. So we're going to talk about shadow work today. So, basically, shadow work is when you are going into the deepest part of yourself, like the subconscious part, and finding the reasons why you have automatic reactions to things. So there's like a part of you that still exists. That's like that we call the shadow self. It's like behind you. It's there and it always exists, but you can't see it. And so a lot of times we're covering it up, and we've had learned behavior, a lot of things like that. And what happens is that sometimes things and events can trigger something in us that will trigger an emotion that's really profound. And you're like, why did that happen? And a lot of times that's the suppressed self that's never been healed, that's never been worked on. And also too, it can also be, and so it doesn't always have to be dark. It can also be something good that was healed. I mean, that wasn't healed. Or wait, let me say that again. Something good that was suppressed. Right. So it could be something really great about you that was suppressed. So for instance, let's say hypothetically, your parents were highly educated people and they wanted you to go to college and you were an artist and you always liked to draw, and they would always get mad at you and say, you can never be anything. You can't do anything as an artist. So you had to suppress it. So every time you get around people that are artists, you could like have some sort of adverse reaction. Like you might even have an adverse reaction to art. You might start crying, or you might get angry. You might, even say the same words your parents said, like, art's never going to get you anywhere, and get really angry about it. Like, so a lot of times it's the suppressed self will create an emotion that you're not really familiar, or you've forgotten the emotion that it's attached to. So you want to add in anything, Trish?
Yeah, I was just thinking it was more of a personal, even for yourself. Mm-hmm. That's just made me think of the people, because I don't know about you, that attack, like I've had attacks. Like I know other people have, like with what I do, maybe what you've done, where people like get really nasty, where one minute they've been nice, and maybe that's because it is like a projection. Maybe that,
the attacks is like, the attacks are coming from something. I mean,
maybe they, have the ability.
Right. It's the reaction that you're having that's coming from
maybe they have the ability, but it's been suppressed, or maybe it's like you say, parents poo-pooed it, so they've had to. They may be great healers or tarot readers or numerology or do what you do or whatever it is in this sort of field, because I do see a lot of people getting attacked for their gifts. But like you say, maybe they've got it in them, and they may come from a very religious background where it was really suppressed. And it's like a passive aggressive, I'm going to lash out, but really I admire you, but I'm hurting because you do what I want to do, and they think they can't do it. Mm-hmm. I was just
well, it's kind of like, okay, so here's a good one right here, homosexuality. So I don't know how many times I've heard this from clients, even friends, and friends of mine that are married. They ended up finding out years later that their husband was molested as a child. So, and then they'll say something like, which now we know why he's so homophobic. And that
happened with me. My ex-husband was so homophobic. It was crazy. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So a lot of times that's what it is. It's the suppressed emotion of that particular type of thing. And, being suppressed and that emotion about it can, kind of morph into something else and behave differently. So you're absolutely right. It's, whether it's you and the attacks that's happened to you, maybe there was something in your childhood or something that is causing you to have such a reaction to that, or other people that you've talked about that, that's happened to. Because I've actually done shadow work on myself on that particular subject that, you're talking about, and worked on all that. So now that kind of stuff just doesn't faze me, because I know where it's coming from, and I was able to address that.
Because I was thinking earlier about myself, if I'm really honest, and I'm going to be honest, I'm working on it. For years, I've had a problem with angry people. I judged angry people, and that is because I wasn't allowed to express my anger, not blaming anybody, but it wasn't really allowed to be expressed. And I have judged, and I've irritated by people that express their anger, because it's like, well, I wasn't allowed to do it. I've always had to be the good one. Why do they get to be angry and just vent? I don't mean hurt anybody, but and I've realized, I used to say I never get angry. That is absolute BS. Everybody gets angry. Everybody gets angry, yeah. I actually prided myself when I was in my 20s that I never got angry. But really it was very suppressed because I wasn't. And that's been part of and I'm not saying it's 100% healed, but, and that's maybe why I attract a lot of angry people. you know, that did show their anger. And I did really judge angry people that showed it. And I'm, you know, going to be transparent about that.
You know, you're absolutely right. And I actually had the same thing happen and to me. And hold on one second. I totally forgot to put on Facebook that I was going live. So I need to do that real quick.
Well, I just had another, while you're doing that, like even with my son, like he will express his anger because I've brought him up to not suppress it, but obviously try and do it safely. But then at times I get irritated. I'll be like, why are you allowed to express how you feel and get angry and vent? Not about me in particular, but you might be upset about something.
Well, it's interesting that your reaction is, why are you allowed? Because like with mine, you know, and I just recently been able to overcome this. This is something I worked on for years because I knew where it came from. And I really had to work on it. For a while, I was kind of like acting like, kind of like that thing we were talking about, owning your diagnosis kind of thing. I was owning it. Like, oh, well, this happened to me and this is why, you know, and so I had a problem with, with anger as well. And I mean, a really big problem. Like if somebody raised their voice, it would pierce my heart. My blood pressure would rise. My face would get red. My ears would get red and tears would just come running down my eyes. I mean, all they had to do was escalate their voice and that's what would happen. But, and the reason that it happened with me wasn't because I was told not to get angry. Mine was because, boy, I'm getting really dehydrated here. Mine was because my dad was a very vocal, loud, you know, yeller.
You raise your holic a bit.
He's not anymore. He's super.
I mean, was he at the time?
Yeah, he was at the time, and he was all about the corporal punishment. And so anytime that he would raise his voice, it was usually followed with a belt.
Right.
So there was always like physical abuse that followed that. So when I was, you know, when he raised his voice, that would happen. And so and so then when I was married the first time, my husband was like that. And he would, you know, scream every time something was wrong, like, Michelle, you know, and I would just like go into panic and hide. And I would literally like hide, like, like I would take the kids and go into it, you know, like they were going to protect me or something. Like he never hit me, but I was very fearful of him. Like I thought something was horrible was about to happen. And he didn't, I don't even think he had it in him to be physically abusive, but inside of me, I felt like that was the next thing coming. You know what I mean? And
some people just get loud and vent when they're stressed, don't they? When something's going wrong, like not everybody can keep calm. Some people do have to rage it out, and doesn't mean they're going to hit you or anything.
Right. And he was just a loud person.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And of course, you know, I went from, you know, being under my dad to being under my husband very quickly. And so I couldn't, you know, there was a certain point where I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I divorced him. And anytime that somebody would raise their voice, like I dated anybody who was a yeller, that was it. Like cut off, no second chances, you're done. Yeah. If I had friends that yelled, that was it. Cut off, no second chances. That's it. You know, this is your character, not going down that road. And I did that for many years. And I kept myself away from people like that because I avoided them. But I didn't ever learn the lesson. And I didn't fix the problem. And I didn't do the shadow work. Right. So it was not until like there was a guy that I dated before my husband, and he was from Colombia, and he would raise his voice and get really excited. And it was usually not towards me. It was about certain things. And he would get so excited. And I remember him telling me that he had to was going through something and he needed an attorney. And I set him up with one of my friends, and he was telling me the story about how he went in there and he said, I need to talk to him now. I need to talk to him now. And they were like, sir, lower your voice, lower your voice. We're going to call the cops. And he was like, you know, and he was telling me the story, and it was like something clicked inside of me. You know, I was like, not everybody, you know, means it in that way. And I knew him. And so I knew that he was just emotional.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean it in a harmful sort of way. And that was kind of my first opening to understanding, but it didn't cure it. And it helped me understand him, but, you know, so, but like with my husband, he's also a very vocal person, very similar to the ex, and he's emotional. So when I say emotional, he's like very passionate. Like, so when he's talking about something, he's very dramatic, and he uses his hands, and he smiles, and he laughs, and he plays, and he jumps around, and he skips around, and he's super happy. And he's just like that. But if he gets upset about something, he's very dramatic and loud, you know, and you know, and then I was like, I remember a couple of times my heart would start racing and tears would start coming. And he just, you know, like, in his experience with people who acted that way, which is his shadow, was when a woman behaved that way, that meant that she was trying to control you with her tears. So it was a bit of a conflict, right? So he felt I was manipulating him, and I thought he was being evil. Yeah. So I was like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? Really had to work together on this to get it to a certain point. And you know, when he was calm, I would talk to him and I would explain my side. He would explain his side. And he's like, but I never was angry. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm using the wrong term for you. I mean, I don't know what the word is, but that voice was really loud and seemed upset, you know, and so it took me a while, but I had to do some internal work. I was like, okay, Michelle, you've got to take the responsibility for this part, because you're the one reacting. And reactions is causing a problem. And so I had to do some shadow work. And that's when I started learning, you know, more about shadow work. I had already been doing a form of it with my clients, but I started to apply it to myself and started really kind of digging into it. And I, you know, and I had to do a lot of different types of shadow work on myself. You know, my reactions to things, Shane seemed to be the trigger for everything, you know. It was like, he could push that button every single time, you know. And I was like, why is it that I'm around so many people all the time and nobody pushes my buttons? But I'm really getting a glare on these glasses. And nobody pushes my buttons except for you. And I was really thinking about that. And I was thinking that perhaps, you know, he's like, kind of like my teacher in a way.
I was supposed to say that, yeah.
Yeah, to help me overcome those problems. And you know, and the reality is that through this whole process, it's just made us stronger. It's made us closer, because it's really helped me accept him, understand him accept me and understand me. And, you know, and I can be kind of weird and kind of hoo-hoo, you know, or woo-woo or whatever you want to call it. Like, I ended up having this dream the other night and I got all upset about it and started crying. And he's like, Michelle, it's a dream. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And so he's like gotten so good about dealing with my emotions, you know. He's, you know, because a dream is very, you know, especially when it feels like so real that you feel like you just stepped into another dimension and stepped out, you know. But since he's done work on himself, the shadow work, discovered where it was from and addressed it, I've done work on myself, discovered where it's from. And now we can actually deal with each other and in a much more accepting way. And then at first it was like, you know, it was like, why are you being so mean? Why are you being so manipulative? You know,
I mean, a great way to see somebody's shadow is what they're projecting onto others.
Yeah. And there's a couple of different ways. I mean, you can, when you're looking at yourself, there's a couple of things. If you look at somebody, so one way is what really upsets you about somebody, and you ask that question. Like, for instance, I don't like people that get angry. Okay. So now somebody can like scream or yell and go crazy, and I'm just as calm as a pickle. Like, it doesn't affect me anymore. But in the past, oh yeah, I mean, it did. But I would look at it and go, okay, what do you not like about people? Like, I can name off several things that I don't like. Okay. Like, in certain people, like, I don't like people who don't have manners. Okay. Like, I don't like when
disrespect is one of my big ones.
Disrespect. Okay. So I was actually just talking about that one to one of my clients, and like, I don't like somebody like chews with their mouth open. It's like disgusting to me. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard for me. And I don't like women who burp. I think that is just, it literally, it's like me clenching my, teeth. Like,
well, when they really force it out, and it's like, I mean, something like pops out, but if they're like really, you like let one rip, just
if it's
like,
if it's an accident and you're sitting here talking and then it just kind of comes out, it's an accident.
You mean someone that really like,
they're like a force burp, like, whoa, it's, to me, I think, okay, you could have held that back and do that in front of me, and especially in public. And so it is difficult to, for me, and I've learned to keep my mouth shut about it. I don't say anything because I know where it's coming from. And, I understand what's the shadow about it. And,
so what is it for you, like, for you to not say? Is that like you understanding it, or you're just not speaking your truth?
So sometimes things aren't worth bringing out. Okay. Like, is it a battle that you want to get into? Like, and that's and I understand, because we were talking about speaking your truth the other day. With some people, it's, you've got to like pick your battles. And to me, burping or something like that it's just not something that, it's very difficult. A few times, like, I found myself, please chew with your mouth shut. It's like, please. Like,
yeah, there's some things I guess you can just think, well,
that one is much harder for me because I'm sitting there with them. If I'm close to them, I'll say something. If I'm not close to them, it'll just gnaw at me. And, but those are little things.
Yeah, they're little ones. Yeah.
Those are little things. And it's not about not speaking your truth. It's about picking your battles. And, like, do you want to get into an argument with somebody that you don't know that well? Or, like, why would you, there's just not any real purpose behind that, Yeah.
I've recognized when I sit back and think, especially recently, ones that have come up to heal. And it's, it might be different for women and men. Like, for me, women that are disloyal, because I'm really about like empowering other women, and like, I want the best for other women, and I hope they want the best for me. So when other women try to like discredit me, take me down, whatever it is, that's a huge trigger for me. I'm like, I just can't get my head around why.
Okay.
But so I know it comes from childhood because it was done to me in childhood.
Oh, okay. So that's good that you said that you can't really get to wrap your head around it, because then let's because
I wouldn't want to do it to someone else.
Right.
So that's one of my shadow things that for a long time I didn't recognize. But I've started to recognize it now.
Okay, so let's do a little experiment here.
Okay.
For everybody. I'm cleaning my glasses here so I can read, because I put some notes up on my computer. And
I saw a lady, she had some anti-glare glasses for doing YouTube. So I don't know if there's special lenses you can get.
I don't know. My dad was telling me the other day, he said, your glasses are like, do this weird thing on your videos. And I said, I know. And he's like, it's the lighting. And he is right. It's just, I don't know.
You can get special ones that don't glare though, because
I can't. It's still glare, so I figure that out. Like where
she wears special glasses where they don't glare when she has to swap her glasses to do YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if
I'll look into that. Okay. So basically, there's 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself. So we're going to go on to that one about the girls that.
So I'll be the guinea pig.
Okay. Let's state your problem for the people that just walk back in. So what's your problem? You really have a hard time with
women that don't empower other women, that want to disempower them. And so I have a problem with other women not want to empowering each other. Okay.
Explain that a little bit more detailed. Like, what exactly do you mean by that?
Like, say, just going to use scenarios, because I learned a lot of this when I work with Unique, and it really showed me how it is possible on a mass scale. You're happy for that person, you want the best for that person, even if you're not doing as well as them, you really want to cheer them on, you want to see them winning.
Okay, now I understand.
Whether it's money, whether it's just promotion in their job or their business, like, you're happy for them even if they're doing better than you.
Right. Okay, got it. I understand. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions. Okay, so this is what you've got to kind of dig inside of yourself. How do you feel when you allow yourself to feel those feelings that you've suppressed? Okay, so when you actually feel those feelings, okay, how do you feel when you allow yourself to feel those feelings? So, like, take a moment to just allow yourself to really feel it instead of suppressing that emotion.
About the women that do this to other women.
Yeah.
I'd say probably quite rage.
Okay.
And I know I'm not showing it.
No, that's okay, that's because you're suppressing it. So if you allow yourself to feel those feelings, what is the feeling you feel? And and the feeling that you feel is rage, right?
Yeah, my solar plexus start churning.
Okay, good. Good. So we've now identified the feeling. Okay, so it's rage. Okay.
Yeah, because it enrages me.
Okay, good. Yay. Okay. So the very last time that you felt this feeling, okay? So I want you to go to this exact feeling right here. And I want you to go to the last time that you felt that feeling. Okay. So just take a moment for a second and just go to that feeling. The very last time this actually happened.
Quite recently.
Okay, good. Okay. So I want you to allow your mind just to go there for a second and feel it in the form of emotions, feel it in the form of images, just however it is that you want to feel it. Okay.
Yeah. Makes me want to cry. I can feel I can feel the tears coming. Whereas when I feel rage, I don't get the tears because I probably, my eyes will go dry and itchy. But if I really feel it and really get into it, I just want to cry. It's like sadness. It's just this.
Okay. So I want you to hold on to the rage and the sadness. Okay. And just kind of stay on that memory for a second. Okay. Now, just take a moment and just kind of close your eyes for a second. Okay. And I want you to go to the very first time that you've ever felt this feeling.
Okay.
You got it?
I'm seeing an image of a person.
Okay. Do you want to share it, or is it something that's personal?
I'm happy to share. It's my mum. I'm seeing my mum raging. She's raging at me, but it's not just me. There's someone else there. So it's more at someone else, but I'm there, if that makes sense.
Was she not supporting somebody? Was she... Are you just going back to the feeling of rage, or are you actually going back to the feeling that's associated, the sadness about...
I can feel it right in my solar plexus. It's like it's the sadness, and you're really just ruining everyone's fun, or ruining someone's fun, or ruining someone's... It's like wanting to suppress somebody for... and I'm not wanting to sound like to anybody watching that I'm blaming my mother, but that's what it feels like.
Okay. So
and I feel quite emotional.
That's okay. So now that you've actually found that space, okay, you can talk to yourself, and you can do this alone. You don't have to do this right now in front of everybody, but you can actually talk to that person, like the past person that experienced that, and tell them that they don't have to bring those emotions, that it really doesn't have anything to do with this, and separate the two. You know what I'm talking about? Like, separate it from it and talk to that person and deal with that side of yourself and that experience and that child that saw that, and work on healing her through communicating with like your inner child. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm about 6 years old, and when I felt and saw that, I wasn't the age I am now. I was about 6 years old.
So those are the emotions from the inner child that's crying every single time that somebody is being treated that way. So it's the child in you that's coming forth and feeling the exact same emotions you felt at that time when you saw that happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you can talk with the inner child. You can tell the inner child, I'm an adult now. You don't have to worry about this anymore. I've got it. I'm going to take all that pain and I'm going to handle it as an adult. You don't have to do it. And you can like tell the child, like I always tell people to imagine grabbing the child and holding it and saying, you're free now. You can go play. I'm going to take all that pain away from you. I can handle this as an adult, but you as a child don't have to keep on reminding me. You don't have to keep on saying I'm hurt, because I'm freeing you and I'm going to handle it as an adult. The child self doesn't have to come out.
And what also compounds it is then when other people don't speak up either. They're like, I'm going to side with this person who's being the suppressor or that's trying to take them down. I think I'm going to be on their side for whatever reason. And that's like,
but I think that's a different one. Okay. That's a different one. Though we got to work on that one too. Because it's two separate issues.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds similar, but it's really your mind is attaching the emotion. And what happens is that anything that looks similar sometimes will gravitate to that. And it'll like hold on, and your mind kind of collects anything that's similar to that. So I got a nose itch today. So let's start with healing the original emotion, the first time you felt it, and work on that first. And then see if that heals and affects that situation, because it could just be attached to it.
Yeah.
And like linked to it and really not have a first orientation. If you want to know if it has a first orientation, you take yourself through the exercise, the 3 steps, which is, how does this make me feel right now? Feel that feeling, then go to the last time I felt this feeling, and then go to the first time I felt this feeling, and use the images and the emotions and everything to, hold on to it. And a lot of times people are probably saying, how's this helping me become spiritual? What does this have to do with spiritual consciousness and everything? Well, you guys, if you don't heal yourself, then everything that you're doing spiritually is clouded by and the reactions. And I always hear people say, well, I can't get spiritual because I always seem to have these problems, and I keep on doing this, and I keep on fucking up, and I keep on doing this, and I get, and it's like, I always fail. Well, the first thing you need to do is heal yourself first. And, and I
want to add, if anybody in here watches it, we all have a shadow. I think you said that already. Like, if you think you don't have a shadow side, you're mistaken, because
and that's a shadow being shadowed.
Yeah, we all have one. So don't think you're like immune. And I know some people's idea of shadow work is actually completely different to what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people whose idea of shadow work is working in the shadows, hidden.
Well, sometimes they are hidden. And like, I actually have a client that had a shadow behind a shadow.
All right.
And whoa. Woo! Anyways, the chat room got awfully quiet suddenly.
Yeah, I've noticed it gone quiet.
Yeah, I know it did. They were like really chatting it up, and then suddenly it just got super quiet. I don't know what's going on. We've got
14 watching, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So maybe they're really listening today.
Maybe they're just listening. Yeah.
Maybe they're listening. Because they were like chatting it up about something. I have no idea. But yeah. So sometimes there's a shadow behind a shadow, and it's about he says it's frozen.
No, is it frozen? It's not frozen.
Not on my end.
Not my end.
No. I just I guess
probably a lot of people listen. Suzanne says she's listening. People may be just listening.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah.
That's really
They're
good.
Not like
yeah. All right. All right.
Yeah, listening.
Okay, well that's good. That's actually a really good sign. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't go off the air or anything.
Hi to everybody anyway that's in the chat.
Yeah. So anyways, the thing is that why it's so important is because as the number one thing to spiritual evolution is healing yourself. Okay. And forgiving yourself, forgiving others, and then service to others. Okay. So it's like, those are the things that you need to do. But thing is that, I was talking to my dad the other day, and my dad is so cute. I mean, he's just the adorable little teddy bear, and he was like telling me, Michelle, I've been watching all this stuff on YouTube. I've been reading all these books. I've been watching all these programs, and I just don't know how to talk to you about this, but I know you're open-minded. So, okay. And he's just like, and he has all this information. And basically he ended up coming across this whole information about awakening and the truth behind everything. And, all the stuff that's going on. And he's like, and I'm like, okay, let me explain to you about what's going on in the world. Da, 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 da. And he's like, oh, so you already know about this. And I'm like, come on, Dad, really? And
my dad just was not, he was the biggest skeptic going.
So he's like really concerned because he wants to make sure that through this whole transition that the world's going through, that he's going to be like part of that transition, and he's going to be stuck in the third dimension,
Awesome.
Like he wants to evolve to the sixth and seventh dimensions, you know what I mean? And so he's like really wanting to do that. And I said, look, Dad, it's a really simple process. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. You just, he's thinking he has to reach his higher self, and he has to do this, and he has to do some kind of quantum healing. And I'm like, that, stop. Okay. These are people just trying to sell you shit. Okay. Here's what you need to do. Forgive yourself, forgive others, start being service to others.
Let that shit go, as I say.
Let that shit go.
Yeah.
And he's like,
it's not really that complicated, but we make it complicated, don't we?
We do make it complicated. But you know what he said? And this is the honest to God truth. And this is probably why everybody was listening so quietly, is because he got really quiet, and he said, that's easier said than done.
That's true.
And it's true. It is so true, because the one thing that the hardest one for me to get over was the whole anger thing. Like my judgment towards people that were angry. It was my judgment, man. I'm telling you, I was like, evil. I immediately was like, you're about.
I was exactly the same, especially my ex-husband. I was like, I lost, and this sounds awful, but it was the lessons we went through. I lost respect for him. But looking back now, to think he was sexually abused for years. He had every right to be freaking angry, but obviously it's the fact that he hurt other people was the bit I couldn't get. He had every right.
Can you imagine how much love will be in this world? I was thinking about this, and I was like, my husband now isn't a whole lot different from my ex-husband that I divorced for this very reason. And there is, because of the forgiveness, because of the acceptance, because of me taking responsibility for my part in this, which is playing the injured person, it has created so much love between us. Like, we can talk about anything. I mean, like me, I mean, he's like, I've like called him up because I'm crying over a damn dream,
Oh, your husband now, you mean?
Yeah, the one that I'm married to now. It's created so much love between us. And it's like, because there's so much acceptance. And we had to work at that. That wasn't something that came easy. He had to do his shadow work. I had to do my shadow work. And he had to work on his stuff and I had to work on mine at the same time.
But you may have ended up in the same scenario as last time.
Right. And I didn't learn it the first time. Okay. I missed my opportunity to learn that lesson with my first husband. And instead I judged and I called him evil. I used to call him the devil. I mean, I did. And he's a really good person. I mean, he really is a good person. I mean, he has done so much for my daughter's wedding. And I mean, he is just really like very supportive of the kids. I mean, he's really a good guy. And it's a sad thing that I didn't see that. It took me a couple of rounds to figure that one out, and so that was the hardest one for me to let go of. But I've had other ones that, like have surfaced that hadn't surfaced ever. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but I had a random reaction to something Shane said and I flew off the handle. Like,
well, it could be very
screaming, but I just busted out crying.
It can be very deeply hidden in your subconscious that you're not even aware of it.
So here's a weird one. Okay. So here's a weird one that I did. So we were talking about something, and honestly and truthfully, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like I was trying something and we were trying something together and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And he said, just don't worry about it. Just forget it. And I started crying and I said, you're doing a takeaway. And he was like, what? What did you take away? I'm like, you're taking it away from me, and I just start crying. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's like, Michelle, you need to go look inside, go do some reflecting because I don't know what you're talking about. And so I had to go look at it and look it up, go inside of my head. And I had to sit on the feeling for a minute and sit and feel the feeling of something being taken away from me. Okay. Just like I did with you. I sat on that. And then I thought, when's the last time I felt this way? And then I said, when's the first time I felt that way? And man, I had flashes of memories coming back like you wouldn't believe. I used to have a horse when I was younger, and my parents ended up getting rid of the horse, and it was my horse. And then I had a piano, and they got rid of the piano. And it wasn't because they were punishing me. It was honestly because they couldn't manage their money very well. And it was a financial thing. They couldn't afford to feed the horse and the piano. They needed the extra money, so they sold it. And, my dad was a contractual engineer. Like he would work jobs for like a year or two and get paid a lot of money, but sometimes he'd be unemployed for a while. And so they would live like high in the life, and then boom, it was like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? And so my stuff started getting taken away from me. So it's that feeling, and it's really interesting how that can transfer into your adult and literally cause a emotional reaction. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, nothing's being taken away from you, Michelle. He is nothing. You're a grown ass adult. You can handle this, and I literally had to really go inside of myself and say, you're not a child. And I took the child, I hugged her, and I said, it's all okay. I'm giving you back the horse. I'm giving you back the piano. And that's sometimes you can actually do like a fantasy thing and hand it back to them. That's what I did. I literally talked to the child and I said, look, I'm giving this back to you. You can have your horse. Go ride your horse. Go ride. And I saw myself, just imagine myself on the horse. And then I gave myself back the piano and I saw myself playing on the piano. And oh my God, I'm getting emotional thinking about this. Oh my God.
Who's Jenny? Angel Bug Jenny.
Oh, that's my sister.
He says,
oh my God, I knew you were going to mention the horse. Ah, that's my sister. Hi, sweetheart. I can't believe that you actually even knew that I was going to be on tonight.
She says, hi, my beautiful sister, I'm sitting in, but I didn't know sometimes people call each other sister when they're not real sisters. Well, the people bought the horse, bought for a little girl with blonde hair. Oh.
Yeah, it was very upsetting to me. Just thinking about it, it was making me cry. I don't know how long you've been on, sweetheart. So I don't know if you heard we're talking about shadow work. And so anyway, I had to heal the little girl. And healing the little girl helped my response to my husband. I wasn't like, you're taking something away from me, and getting so upset. I mean, I was acting like a child. Okay.
Yeah.
And this was the first time. I was really upset because I thought I had healed everything inside of me. Okay. I mean, honestly, I was like, okay, Michelle, you have mastered your mind. You have healed it all. You got, and then this thing pops up and it's like, what? Yeah, it was crazy. It was.
Yeah. And I think when these things come up, if I'm more aware of them now, but before I did used to complete in my 20s, they were so suppressed. It was always someone else like, oh no, it's their behavior, like is the problem, not me. It was my reaction, obviously, to the problem. Yes, violence or whatever isn't good. But.
It's so much easier to blame somebody else. And so shadow work is actually really taking responsibility for and looking at your part, because a lot of times it's so much easier to play the victim, and to go into that space and everybody else is wrong. Everybody else is the fuck up. Everybody else is evil. I'm the good, angelic person. I'm a spiritual teacher. I should, I'm the good one. I'm the one who heals people, And
they can often be the worst because they're so in denial of their own wounds.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I have had to do some serious, really looking at myself, because, when I hear my husband saying, maybe you should take your own advice, and I'm just like, oh, that hits me, it's like, whoa. And it hits me because I really try to be sincere. I really try to be, I try to walk the walk, talk the talk, be the person, I really try to be the person that until if I have faults, I'm going to admit them, and I don't want to put on some kind of fraud and that's another shadow thing, because I grew up in a very hypocritical church and everybody was lying and hypocrites and faking and doing this, but, screwing somebody in behind and, and doing all.
As you said that, Tim had just written most people on Sunday at church, lol, and you didn't know he'd written that.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see it. Yeah.
I apologize if anybody watching goes to church, but they can be some of the biggest hypocrites, or the people behind, or even people that go to church. Not everybody, obviously, because there's good, but they can be some of the most.
I'm telling you, for a very, very long time, a trigger for me was somebody walking up to me and telling me they were a Christian. And I mean, it would literally set me on fire between the age of 16 and 18, there was a lot of shit that went down. And, my dad got kicked out of the church and for standing up for something he believed in, which happened to be the youth group that he was trying to create. And they criticized him and all this other stuff. And it just and there was a lot of meanness that was portrayed towards him. And there was a lot of conflict, a lot of hatred. There was just so much that I really can't even get into right now, because that would be a whole show in itself. But there's all that. And then we switched to a different church that was supposed to be more liberal and kinder. And that turned into a big nightmare. And I finally just threw my hands up in the air, and I'll never forget. I was living in this single 1-bedroom loft apartment. And I remember laying on my bed, and I decided I'd never meditated before. Where did I get the freaking meditation word? I think I read it somewhere in the Bible. And so I was like, they used to get answers from God, and God would speak to them when they meditated, because you would hear these verses that would say, and I fell into a deep meditation. So that's what I did. I decided to fall into a deep meditation. Didn't know how to meditate, figured it was just going to happen. And I remember praying and telling God, please show me the truth. Just show me the truth. Just guide me and show me the truth. And I went into this thing thinking, okay, God's going to speak to me, you know, and he's going to start speaking. I'm going to hear this voice any second now. He's going to go, okay, Michelle, you need to be a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness or this or that, you know. No, that didn't happen. But the next time I turned around, I met somebody who was a Jehovah's Witness, and I thought, oh, well, that's God telling me that Jehovah's Witness is the real thing. So I looked into that, and then next thing I know, I found that they're just as crazy. So I was like,
they're a trigger for me. Yeah, I was just about to say Jehovah's Witness.
Right. And so it was like, and I went through all these different religions, and I went down this whole rabbit hole. I mean, it was crazy. But yeah, that was a trigger for me for a long time, and I had to work on that. So now if somebody tells me they're a Christian, I go, really, what religion are you? Oh, well, that's awesome. That's great. Do you know this pastor over here? Do you know this pastor over here? Da, 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 da. Just have a little talk with them, and I meet them at their level, and I'm good.
Well, you brought up with religion again. You were, weren't you?
Yes.
Originally, yeah.
Whereas I never Bible thing in Baptist church. I mean, it was hardcore.
I've heard people say they've tried all the different, but I've never really been down the route of any religion, I wouldn't say. I maybe read bits and bobs, about Buddhism.
If you have religion as a background,
which I didn't, so
if you do, it's like deep programming. It's like literally you have to be like deprogrammed, and sometimes it takes years for it to happen, because it is so ingrained so deep inside of you, because it's years and years of them pounding a message into your head, and you're programmed to believe something. That's why a lot of times Christians will start mouthing off about a bunch of stuff they don't know what they're talking about, and they'll say, I had a client come in and say something, the Bible says something. And I go, really? And I went and grabbed the Bible, because I keep a Bible in my office. And I grabbed the Bible and I handed it to her and said, show me where it's at. And she shook her head like this. And I go, what? And she goes, it's not in there. And I go, well, why did you say it was in there? I was like, because I can show you in the Bible. In fact, I'll turn to it right now, where it says the actually opposite. See, a lot of times what happens is these people get so ingrained in this message that's being told to them that's not even directly related to the Bible. Just somebody's interpretation. They get up on the pulpit and they start getting narcissistic, and they decide they're going to like rule the roost or whatever. And that's it's sad, because most of the people that I run into that are Christians are never even read the Bible. And
interesting. All right.
Yeah, I'm serious. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. They just start quoting things. They don't even know what it means. Like I stopped somebody one time. Every so often I'll get in a debate with somebody just because it's fun. And I will, and they quote a scripture, and I'll go, tell me what it means. And they can't. And I'll go, they'll quote another scripture. And I go, I didn't say quote another scripture to back it up. I said, tell me what it means. Now I can tell you what it means. You tell me what it means first. And they can't, because they're not taught that. They're taught to memorize this, and they're taught to do this, and they're taught to do that. And that's it. And it's programming. And so my programming was very hard to break. And it's very difficult to break that. It's really hard. People get very, very upset and very angry. And when you start trying to break the program. So when it comes to people that are, religious, I just love them. And unless it directly affects something that we're working on, I just accept them and love them. And, because I know that the programming is really deep, and unless it's destroying them, I keep my mouth shut about it. But I did not want to.
Patrick, who's in the UK, says he spent 23 years in a church and left in 2010, now more spiritual than I ever been. I mean, that's a long time, 23 years to go to church. You're going to be very programmed. It doesn't matter whether it's church, whatever it is, you are going to be like programmed, aren't you, to that?
It's hard to get past the stories and the desire for, the gates of heaven and the angels singing and the choirs and, and I'm going to be saved from this madness. And, it's difficult, because the whole basis of this is you're going to have a better life over here. So this life doesn't matter. That's why people commit suicide. They do whatever the hell they want because God's going to forgive them. So they just go ahead and they're like, it doesn't matter. I mean, I used to hear this all the time. And that's like, they would say, oh, well, I've been saved, so God will forgive me. And
well,
I'm like, that doesn't justify your actions.
Yeah. I think is it Arlie? And it's Arlie and Jay, but I don't know if it's Arlie that's here. I think it's grew up in the church and now as an adult, I avoid them at all costs. Going in one freaks me out and I had to take Xanax to get through my brother's wedding at a church. I'm the same with graveyards. I have never, ever liked graveyards. I've been to my grandma's graveyard once and I couldn't wait to get out there fast enough. They just freak me out. I don't even know if my father was cremated, so last I knew his ashes were with my mother, so I don't even know if there's a place to go. I don't know if
what's the shadow behind that?
What, the graveyards? Well, that's one I haven't looked into deeply. I just avoid them at all costs. And if there was probably a place of rest where obviously there's not a body to bury, so some people put like I don't know what you call them. My uncle's got one. Yeah, she's got the urn, but they often scatter the ashes, but they might have a memorial thing in a graveyard or whatever, or place of rest, because you can't just put them anywhere, I don't think. No, you can't. And I don't even know if my father was this actually. He never went to his mother and father's grave because it freaked him out. Wow. And when I see people walking across people's graves, I just like, when you sit, I won't even walk through a grave. Like, she's my friend. I love graveyards. I just can't. I have always been that way. Yeah, I'm kind of neutral. I don't really love them, don't really hate them. I don't really have an opinion either way. But I have questioned, like, why am I so triggered by these? I just will not go there. So do your 3 questions or 3 things and see if you can kind of dig into it. But do it while you're meditating and ask yourself that, and kind of like, because if you go into a really quiet space, it'll be easier to kind of access more harder to reach things like that. That's not quite so surface emotions. And that's like Arlie says, I think it's Arlie that's usually here. Yeah, it's Arlie. Yeah, Arlie. I could have adopted the fear of my father's. Which is possible. Absolutely. And that could be something else. I want to talk about the shadow self that's actually good. So sometimes we have a bad shadow self and then we have the good shadow self. So sometimes we have suppressed goodness and that goodness was suppressed because of something that's happened in our life that, like if you're good, then and then you get walked on or victimized or told that that's not okay. Like, so I'll give you an example of something that happened with me. I had suppressed goodness and I was very laughing, very vocal, very loud laughter, and very free-spirited, fun person. And I was constantly being suppressed by people that I knew, like even friends. And I remember as a young adult, I was in a restaurant with a friend and her boyfriend, and I was talking about something that happened, and I thought it was really funny, and I was like, "Oh my God," and I was like really laughing really loud, and she was like, "Michelle, shh, you're embarrassing me." Shh. Yeah. And so for a while, and that happened to me multiple times, like, take it down, Michelle, you're too loud. Take it down. You're too loud. You're too much. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. Like, nobody's that happy, And so I was like, I'm not supposed to be happy. I'm not supposed to smile. I'm not supposed to. And then that made me sad that I couldn't be myself. And so I started projecting that onto other people. So for instance, if I was around somebody who was loud, I'd be like,
you need to be quieter. You're embarrassing me. And I started doing the same thing until sometimes like the victim becomes a victimizer. You see what I'm saying? It's,
oh yeah.
And that was a good part of me. And I brought it back. You know, I decided this is the part that I want. I want to bring that. Come on, girl, you're going to come with me, you know, and you're going to start, you and I are going to be best buds, and we're going to, you know, who cares what other people think? I'm going to laugh really hard, and I'm going to laugh really loud, and I'm going to sing happy birthday to Anton. And then I'm going to laugh at myself, you know? And so, so it's that sometimes there's good things that are suppressed. You know?
Yeah, you may have suppressed talents of all sorts, like we said at the beginning, where you could be an amazing dancer, but, you know, you might have been told there's no money in it, or you'll never be good enough, or whatever it is, and then you suppress it and you don't do it, and you go on to just do a job you don't even like.
And sometimes that shadow self can manifest physically. You know? Okay, so like, for instance, with weight. Okay. So like there may be an incident. Is somebody saying something funny?
So I'm laughing at Anton. Sorry. Totally inappropriate. He says I'm loud in bed. He has to take it to the bedroom, doesn't he?
He does. Well, if we haven't started talking about sex by the end, you know, within the hour.
I've been really good.
I know you have. You've done a really good job. But Anton has to break the
It's a Virgo after all.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I lost my train of thought now. What was I saying? About heavy weights. Okay. So sometimes you can have multiple reasons. Like, here's the thing. I've found that women that have been sexually molested as children there's at least 50% of them tend to be obese as adults. And some of them end up having they either become lesbians, they become obese, sometimes both, or they become asexual or hypersexual, like prostitutes or something like that. And so they have to act it out. It's like something that's happened to them. They have to figure out a way to either suppress it really hard and make it stop so it'll never happen again. A lot of times when people have been molested, they end up getting raped later. Like there's something that ends up happening to them. They become like a target, like an energetic target for this kind of stuff. And so, so they literally like do things to suppress it. So, and most of the women that I've dealt with that have been sexually molested, they always blame themselves. They think that they're angry with that child and they think they could have done something to stop it. And so they're very mad at themselves for that. And so what ends up happening is they start hating themselves. And in the process, they gain weight. Now, a lot of times women that are, okay, so here's the thing. And when you're
it can be protection as well, can't it? Like, I'll make myself as unattractive as possible, then I won't be targeted. Exactly.
And also too, it's hatred towards self. Sometimes it's not sexual abuse, and sometimes it's just hatred towards self. I'm abusing myself. I'm going to sabotage myself. I'm going to hate myself because of something that somebody has said to them that has made them think that there's something wrong with them. Okay. And so it's the hatred of self. And so they constantly torture themselves by forcing themselves to be ugly so that they can be abused by other people. Like, you see what I'm saying? Not attractive, but and the interesting thing is that if you deal with that shadow self and you address the reasons, the hidden reasons behind that, you end up finding out that if you can get to a point to where you can love yourself, a lot of times that weight ends up falling off because you don't have to abuse yourself anymore.
Yeah, they don't even need. I've heard of that where they've not even changed the diet anymore. They've changed nothing, but let that emotional weight go, and the weight's dropped off them.
Yeah. And right. Exactly. It's sometimes it's just a sense of happiness that actually causes that to happen. You don't have to punish yourself anymore. You don't have to sit there and eat, I mean, okay, because
see, I'm the opposite. I'm not an emotional eater. I go off my food.
You're not. You're not. Wait. Say it again. You're not an emotional eater. You go.
I mean, like, you know, when people, when they get upset, they want to eat and stuff food down or whatever it is. I go off my food if I'm upset. I can't eat. I don't want to, not can't, I don't want to eat. I have like no desire for food, which can be still punishment, but in the opposite way. I'll go like a whole day if I'm feeling sad where I just won't eat anything. Because there's no, like, I just don't want anything. And I can go a whole day easily.
So, but people eat for different reasons.
Yeah, that's what's given an example.
Yeah, different. Right. Different. I mean, sometimes being overweight isn't necessarily an emotional issue. Sometimes it's a cultural issue. So, because like the biggest problem that I see is when you have a cultural family that is big on eating. So, yeah. So for instance, like Latin, like, you know, like Hispanic,
Italian families.
Yeah. You, some cultures that are wrapped around food and lots of family and happiness is, and family and happiness and eating and happiness and family. And it's all like encompassed, and it's always about food, and everybody's, what food are we bringing? What are you bringing? I'm going to make this, I'm going to make that. And everybody's happy and everybody's so joyful. And so like when they start getting sad or lonely, the only way that they remember happiness is through eating. So that's shadow self, but it comes from a different place. And so they want to be happy. And so they mimic the behavior of what happiness was like before and start eating. And that
makes sense. Yeah. Because my upbringing, to give an example, was different to that. I mean, my mother was a great cook, but we all often ate at different times because like my dad often would work or worked away. I don't ever really remember as a young child as all, apart from Christmas. I've read Anton's comment, does that shadow behind you, your shadow work? Yes, it does. My favourite meal is Christmas dinner. And if I'm honest, that's probably one of the few times we all sat down and ate together. So maybe that is, or a Sunday dinner. But Christmas dinner was probably the only meal where we all truly sat down together to eat.
Oh, wow.
At one time together.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I had a thing where, you know, always eating healthy, really disciplined, don't have any problems. And then I go into my mom's house and suddenly I start getting like famished, like starving. Like I never feel this way. And I'm like, what do you have to eat? I'm so hungry. I'm starving. And I'm like opening up the refrigerator, trying to dig around. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? You know? And I'm like, why is it that I get like this every time? And her husband was like, Michelle's coming over. You better make sure there's some food, you know? And it's like, I would get like that every single time. She's like, oh, it's because it's home and it's comfort food. And she just reminds her, you know, and so like, it's interesting how all this stuff that, you know, has happened to you. I mean, and that's kind of a funny little thing. Some stuff that shadow work is very serious because it's emotional reactions. And those emotional reactions come out and they kick you in the ass, you know, they show up and it's just, you know, an instant trigger, and, you know, and now you're looking like a psychopath because you're crying over something really dumb.
Or getting really angry and enraged.
Flying off the handle over something really dumb. And, you know, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, where is this coming from? And so the thing is that you want to identify the feeling, then you want to kind of take it back in time. And so you can do it in 3 parts or you can do it in 5 parts. It doesn't really matter, but you can do it in stages if you want, but you want to start with the feeling and how does it make you feel? Then you want to think about the last time that you felt that way. And then you can kind of go the time before that and the time before that if you want, or you can just go straight to the first time. Some people, if they can't find it, they need to actually go down the timeline and go, okay, the time before that, then the time before that, until they get to, and then if you get to a childhood experience, then ask yourself the first time I've ever felt this way. And if you do that, you're pulling it up, and when you bring that into your consciousness and you'll be able to look at it, you can really like go, that's stupid. You know, I don't need that anymore.
Well, yeah, another one the other night, the neighbors next door, and it's a separate, but I could hear them really arguing and going, she was going mental at him. And I could feel I just wanted to go like that. You know, like a small child, if their parents, maybe this is where it came from, if the parents were arguing and you just want to go, I literally laid on my bed with my hand over my ears, and I could feel like hair going tight, and I was just like, I just don't want to hear it. And I was like, okay, I'm 45, they're next door, it's nothing to do with me, no harm's going to come to me, but I was getting triggered. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And it was because it just reminded me of a past memory, probably of many memories, because I can't stand hearing people really argue hell for leather, like.
Right. So when it comes to triggers like that, you know, we've identified yours and everything. Like, you might want to just look at it a little deeper and make sure that you've gotten, like, sometimes there's multiple events. Like with me, it was like my horse, my piano, my house, my, you know, my land, you know, it's like, there was like multiple things that, you know, and it made it real intense. So sometimes they're things, so you might want to really look at it and make sure. And then you can handle it by either taking the child and giving the horse back and the piano back if you want. You can like do that. Or my favorite is to take the child and hold the child and say, you don't have to live with this pain anymore. I've got it for you. I can carry this for you. I can carry the load. You can be happy. You can go play. You can be, you know, loving, you know, go do that. Go have fun. You can sing as loud as you want. Go for it. I want to hear you sing. I want to hear you laugh as loud as you possibly can. Laugh, laugh, laugh. And watch her joy come out, like that inner child's joy, you know? And do that kind of stuff. Like, and you can do, like I said, you can either change the memory of how it played out, or you can take the pain away and take it upon yourself as the adult and let the child not carry the pain. Or you can actually literally say, I don't need this anymore. Okay. I'm a grown ass adult. This isn't, you know, I don't need to carry that into this, because the horse has nothing to do with this part, you know?
Because imagine there's people watching now, may watch the replay, where they're afraid of confrontation. And that's another one probably linked into it all. Like, if I confront somebody, then they get really angry. And then there's a lot of people I know are afraid of confrontation, which is another shadow. I
absolutely agree with that. I mean,
and when I say confrontation, I don't mean like, oh, I'm just going to go for someone for no reason. But if there's an issue, they don't address it and they stuff it down, but then the resentment builds up or whatever. Yeah, I see a lot of that.
If you've done enough shadow work, see, when I start with shadow work with people, I usually say you need to address it, feel it, bring it to life, you know, allow the feelings to be felt. I mean, like, go for it 100%. You can even, and if you want to go ahead and so another part that a lot of times I do is I'll have them like literally like this whole week, I want you to feel all your feelings 100%. I want you to examine where they came from. So we do the inner work. But then I want you to, no matter what comes up, I want you to feel it 100%. Don't suppress it. Feel it. Let it out. Let the child come all the way out and do a whole rage. And then when you're done having your little hissy fit and allowing yourself to have a hissy fit, not, oh shit, I didn't mean to say that. Like, just go ahead and explode. Then you ask yourself, did that serve me? And if the answer is no, then you say, well, I don't need it anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. You know?
And also not feel bad for it, because that's often when people won't deal with it, when they're like, oh, it's now I feel bad because I've just expressed how I feel and I shouldn't, you know, this, I know that's relevant to myself.
Right, like, exactly. Well, you can't feel bad. Well, when you're doing this type of work, you've got to just, you know, you got to
just go deep and like not be.
And you just got to not give a shit if, you know, because that reaction is, you're going to have to, you know, like, You're going to have to feel it because you've got to get it out, you know, let it go, that kind of stuff. And you just got to deal with the fact that this is being suppressed. So it's been suppressed a long time. So, you know, it's got to come out some way. So, and then you look at it and you say, do I need this anymore? So there's lots of different ways that you can handle it. But going back to your comment that you were talking about that I think is really important, is once you've done your shadow work, you can pick and choose your battles and decide, you know, because you were talking about you being true to yourself kind of thing. There's certain things, like there was a situation that we talked about where I had to acknowledge that situation because to be true to myself, it was something I needed to express. Okay. And then the situation I was telling you about recently, I decided, you know, not worth it. And so sometimes those battles but see, I don't feel the emotions like that. You know what I mean? It's more about how I feel right now versus the shadow coming out, because that work has been done. So now it's about my current Michelle, current reactions. And that person can literally, without having the shadow behind me reacting, I can look at the situation and say, is this something I need to address? Or is this something that I need to walk away from? And, you know, because is it a battle worth fighting? Because not all battles are worth fighting.
No.
Now, you know, I mean, you got to like weigh the consequences on whether or not it's something, you know, I have a hard time biting my tongue. Okay. It's very difficult for me. And so sometimes what I've learned to do, because that is a little harder for me, is to sit on it for a few days and process it and get past the emotion that was attached to it. So once I've released that and really looked at it, looked at the shadow, find out where, you know, why am I reacting this way, and really analyze it. And if the emotion is really pure and it's not coming from something from my past, then I will address it. But now I've calmed down and I can address it in a very logical way. And I'll sit down with them and say, okay, here's the situation. And I'll just be super calm about it and address it in a very neutral sort of way instead of in an emotional reaction. You know what I mean? But it's very difficult to do that unless you've really cured and you worked on that, did the shadow work, you know?
Yeah, Dana was just saying, I found when you release, you can have different effects. You can vibrate, get hot, cold, go numb in spots, vomit, your nervous system rewriting itself. Yeah, I used to do, I don't know if you've heard of Christy Marie Sheldon. I used to do a lot of her monthly group events, and the one on mothers, actually, I know I'm mentioning my mother a lot, and it was about mothers, and I was freezing cold the whole way through. I think it was like nearly 2 hour like live event, and you get the recording so you can keep clearing the different layers. And it was to clear, like, you know, the mother issues. I was ice cold shivering all the way through, and I'd done many of her events and I'd not had that. So that was and I did email her to say, like, I just shivered all the way. And she said, that's your body having a real reboot, you know, like Dana was just saying. It's like your nervous system rebooting. But the more I listened to it, the less I didn't have the same effect as the first time. But it shocked me because I was literally on the duvet shivering all the way through it like that. And I was not expecting that.
Well, you know, I've done so many different forms of releasing with people, and it's amazing the physical reactions that happen. I've done what I call aggressive tapping, where you're like banging on the
EFT.
chakras, you're banging on the chakras, and you're saying something, and you're bringing the emotion up. And so, like, I'm really angry, and you're banging on your chest. So you want to bring that emotion up because it's stored in your root chakra, and so you're bringing it up. And so when you get it up here, your heart, you start crying. When you cry, then you want to bring it into your throat, and you start banging on your throat at the same time, and you know. And then when you start coughing, then suddenly they'll just randomly start coughing, like gagging almost.
Yeah. because it's coming out.
Because it's coming out. Yeah, exactly. Some people get headaches, and that's because now they pushed it way up here. And so it's like, no, come back here, focus right here, you know? So I've done it that way. My dad's a massage therapist now. As a retired person, he decided to do that. And so he's found that emotions get stored in the fascia. And so sometimes doing, and he's working on certain things, people just bust out crying.
Yeah. Oh God, when I've had massages, I've not so much now, but like when I got a lot of pain, I would just burst out crying, but it was like relief. Like, I can let this all go. You know, it's painful, but it actually feels nice. Yeah.
So you know, there's a lot of different ways that people. Now I'm gonna bring something up that's gonna sound a little weird here, but I have some friends that are into alternate lifestyles. Okay, and and whatever people do is their business. Okay, but anyway, they're in an alternate lifestyle. So, like,
what's that mean?
Okay, so they're choosing a different type of lifestyle that's different from other people. So, for instance, this particular alter lifestyle, because I have friends in different types of alter lifestyles, but this particular one that I'm going to tell you about is BDSM.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so a lot of times they will put themselves in situations or ask to be put in situations, and the session or whatever the hell it's called will create a release.
Right. Yeah.
They say that they go into I forget what it's called, but it's like an altered state.
Altered state. Yeah.
Like almost.
Do they get like a high from it or something?
Yeah. They subspace is what it's called. Subspace.
All right.
Okay. The name it was called subspace, and they go into the space, and sometimes they'll just start crying and crying and crying, and then they feel so good because they've let this stuff go.
I actually was going to mention just before about the massage, like you do hear of maybe men as well, but I've heard of women cry after sex. Just, healthy, I mean, I'm not into the BDSM, but everybody each their own. But some women do cry just after normal, healthy, healthy.
So yeah, I'm just talking about, you're right. There's just so many different ways. I mean, I've had lots of massages, and I've had fascia work before, and I've never experienced crying during a massage. And that alternate lifestyle is not my thing, but there's a lot of people that experience those type of emotional releases through different types of doing things like the tapping or through Reiki. There's
another which isn't healthy. I've heard people that self-harm. That's the only way they can get an emotional release.
Wait, they do what?
When they self-harm, cut themselves.
Oh, cutting. That's another one. Yes.
I mean, I've, again, never done that. I don't think. But I've heard of a lot of youngsters, my son's age, particularly girls. My son's never done it, but and he tells me about these girls that are self-harming, and I'm like,
it seems to be a thing for kids right now. I don't know what the deal is.
It's really worrying, and I said, but why? And they explained to him that they're in so much pain. The only way they can get a release is to cut themselves.
Right. And so these are very harmful ways.
They're harmful ways, obviously.
Like most of these things that we're talking about is not the way to get a release. The
massage, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But the best way to literally fix this is to actually address the problem. I mean, really get deep to the original problem. Even if you're doing an emotional release with a massage, it's good. Yes, but it's not permanent, because the subconscious mind and the inner child and the shadow self is still there. It's just all you're doing is bringing the stored emotions that she's had out of your body, but she's still crying.
Do you think that's why some people get addicted to sex? Because they keep getting that release of emotion, but they don't deal with the shadow stuff underneath. And it becomes like an addiction because they get a high from it, like a drug.
Well, I think that's why anybody does anything, you know,
or anything like that, or drugs. Is
exactly. I mean, the answer is to literally go to the source of the problem and address it and deal with it and talk to the self, you know, and talk to that person, like go up to that person. And I don't know how many times, like, you know, my childhood was, there was some sad moments in it, you know, and there's, you know, so I'm 5'9", and when I was in elementary, I was like 5'5", 5'6". I mean, I grew really fast. I was as tall as an adult, and I had an adult body, and it was really traumatic because I was made fun of because of my height. And I'm 52 years old. So if you think back in those days, you didn't have blow dryers, you didn't have curling irons, you know, and my hair was naturally curly, like really curly. So when I was, you know, back then my mom would put, you know, these big rollers in my hair and to soften the curls. And so we had PE every day, and I live in Houston, so we have humidity. So I'd go outside, and by the time I came back in, my hair was out to here. I looked like Rosanna Dana, and it was just, you know, and so they used to call me Treetop. And so I got made fun of a lot for, you know, my height and all that kind of stuff. And so there was, so I don't know how many times I've had to individually go back to that little girl. I don't know how many times I've had to go back to the little girl and say, one day you're going to grow up and you're going to be beautiful, and people are going to love you, and you're going to have a great personality, and you're going to be helping people, and you're going to be like doing all this really great work, and everything's going to be okay, you know? And I've had to like tell her that, like, it's okay. One day this is going to happen. And it's like, when you, and it sounds really weird, but inner child work is really powerful. Inner child work, shadow work, it's all the same thing. You know, going back and addressing the problem immediately and address it. I like doing the shadow work as inner child work, because I feel like actually going to that child and talking to them and even changing the memory slightly if you need to, like try to imagine it differently. Or, you know, sometimes like what I always do is I imagine myself as like her guardian angel, and like, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm from the future. You know, here's what, you know, this is what's going to happen, and life's going to be good. And, you know, so so I, that's my favorite form of doing it, because I feel like it's really quite profound and really healing. And when I do like a session with my clients and do that, you know, take them back like that through hypnosis, and they really visualize it and see it and they feel it. And they like, and they'll tell me this whole story about like, oh, and I saw her dancing around and she was so happy. And you can see tears just rolling down their eyes as they're experiencing the altered memory. And, you know, it's amazing. I mean, it's really profound when you do that, because it just heals you. It heals the child, you know?
I have a memory from school that affected me, but it was actually about somebody else. So it was like, I overheard, so I went to boarding school, and you're talking about you growing tall very quick. And like, when I left school at 16, I was a 32 double D. I was like, yeah, they were quite big and they grew very fast. And there was another girl in the year above us. I'm 5'6", so it's, you know, it's not small. And it's, I heard the boys all talking about the girl in the year above who had even bigger. She was smaller than me, and her breasts were really big, and she was a boarder. And I heard the way they talked about her, and it was all about her breasts. It was almost like she was objectified, that, you know, and almost looked down on. And I overheard that conversation, and I never forgot it. And then I couldn't stand having what I had, which now women are paying for. I mean, obviously, And then I started exercising to the point where they were not gone completely, but I was right down to like a B/C cup if I was lucky.
You could get your breast size that small just from exercising?
From running. I used to run a lot and mine would shrink.
Wow.
Some women I know, they don't shrink, but for me, they did.
Wow.
I didn't do it to shrink them. I was just like over-exercising.
You're just lowering your body fat?
Yeah, and so they shrunk too. But now I don't do all the running. They've gone back to the size that I should probably naturally be.
Mm-hmm.
And I've embraced it more now, but I never forgot. And I don't want to be objectified by what I've got on my chest. Like, I want men, obviously, they're always going to look at them. And I should be proud of them because there are women that will pay for them. There are women with cancer that lose their breasts. So I'm trying to, still at 45, embrace what you could say God gave me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And see that's really good. That's really good.
But that was all over hearing boys talk about one girl. That stuck in my mind.
Yeah. Well,
because they just objectified her.
I actually had the opposite. So mine was always like really small, and so it was like flat like a pancake, and I heard somebody say like fried eggs.
Yeah, it's awful. It's so awful.
Like, yeah, it was terrible. And I would actually, I remember like, I swear to God, when I look back at some of the things I've done, I sit here and go, where did that come from? How did I know to do that? Like, I remember like convincing myself that it was mind over matter and that monks actually can change their body temperature so I can grow boobs. So,
well, actually, there is a subliminal CD you can get by a guy where it's called Eldon Taylor, and he's a criminologist, and it's called Inner Talk. They have a CD to make your breast grow. They have one also to make your penis grow.
Okay. So listen to this. Here's the thing.
There is something in it.
I grew boobs. I actually grew boobs. I was a AA and I grew to a C.
And what did you do? Like meditate on it?
I meditated on my boobs growing. I just meditated on my boobs growing. And I was absolutely convinced. And sometimes I would stare at myself in the mirror and I would just imagine that they were, and I would like, they're getting bigger, and I don't know. I did several different things, but I was like, really, most of it was meditating on them growing. And I was absolutely convinced that I could do it. And one day, I didn't realize because the transition was somewhat
it may not happen overnight.
It didn't happen overnight. And one day my dad pulled me aside and he goes, "Is there something you need to tell me?" And I go,
"Are you pregnant or something?"
"What?" And he goes, "Your boobs." And I go, and he goes, "You have boobs, Michelle." And I was like, and I said, And
what age were you when you did this?
When he said this to me, I was 35.
Oh, so yeah. So
it was later in life. I had no boobs most of my life. This is why it's so weird. Okay.
I honestly, I would like to, I'm going to contact Eldon Taylor because he's on my Facebook and I really want to get him on my channel because I've got some of his books and.
Okay. I want to be on that show. Okay?
Oh, well, like if I get him on, then it's a deal. Because one of the CDs is about making your breasts bigger. And I read the affirmations and it says about that it tingles and you feel that and the cells are growing, and it honestly, I was like, I wonder if this works, but I know they are very good,
I'm telling you,
the penis one, I can't tell you.
I have no idea either.
I'd love to try that one.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, I went from a AA to a C, and my dad will testify. It was like, it was truly a miracle, and it was just really bizarre that this could actually happen. Yeah, and so I've been, and C cup is where I always wanted to be, and that's where I've stayed. And I know I didn't ever really want to be any bigger than that, so that's where I've maintained. And I think there was a little bit of a time where I actually went into a D, and my sister was convinced I was a D, and she was like, Michelle, you're wearing a D. Let me give you a new bra. I think your bra's too small. Anyway, so I'm like, I don't wear a D. I don't wear a D. I wear a C. I always wear a C, and she's like, put it on. So I put it on and it fit. And I was like, what? And she's like, see, I told you. And, but because of the, being so long, I don't look like, and so, but somehow or another, it transitioned back and I'm back to a C again. So I don't know what happened there.
I definitely believe that you've got the right sublim. They do work because, I'll have to, I've been meaning to reach out to him for a long time and ask him if he'll come on YouTube. So, we shall see. But he's a criminologist and he's a really interesting guy. So we need to get him home.
Oh wait, guys compel, whoever that is, said, haha, Michelle, me too. Yeah, I guess they grew boobs too.
Maybe, yeah. Alpha Omega, have you forgiven your parents? I don't know who they mean.
I don't know who they're talking about either. They might be talking within the chat room.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, because there was a little bit of a conversation between them going on. But yeah.
I wanted to ask the question, has anybody in the chat got a different version of what shadow work is to them?
Oh, that's a good question. Does anybody, how many people do we have on in here, by the way?
So there's 12 watching.
Okay, so it's dropped a little bit, but we still have quite a few people in here. Does anybody have any other idea of what they thought shadow work was, or any questions or even questions about it? So
there seems to be quite a few people go live at the same time as we do this.
You, the guy I banned on Heidi.
Oh, he's not a troll, is he?
They're talking about something else.
Yeah, but he might be a troll.
Yeah. All right, you guys, are y'all listening? You got your own conversation going here.
You need to make me a moderator. Am I a moderator, Michelle?
Huh?
Because you haven't got any moderators in your chat.
I do not. I don't know how to do that. I was going to ask you about that today. And
if I type in the chat, if you click on I'll say hi. So I've typed, there's 3 dots to the right of my name.
Okay. I don't see 3 dots to the right of your name.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go to, so what do? I add moderator.
If you go to the right, does it say add moderator by my name?
I'm going to do Anton.
Yeah, and just have a couple of moderators because you really need them. Yeah, that's so you just hover over the 3 dots and it should say add.
Okay. So so I made him a moderator, and
IRX is, I would say, is trustworthy if you want some more.
Okay, who IRX? He's a good person. Okay.
They're both here just about every week. I thought that shadow work consisted of exorcism work to remove shadow.
So do I do this every single time, or
no, when they write, if it's done, their writing will change, their name will be blue and they'll have a little wrench. Then they can kick any trolls, or if there's anybody been disrespectful, they can remove the comment, then you don't have to keep your eye on the chat. Yeah. There.
All right. Well, yeah, you guys got promoted. The big boys in the classroom. Okay. All right.
Who needs some?
And that's no offense to anybody else. It's just as I kind of watch you guys and I see how y'all communicate and stuff, I'll be able to do that. I just know these two and really, better. And
I've banned a lot of people on my channel because I'm all about, if you're going to come in and cause trouble. Some people don't block anybody and they'll let people just say what they want, but I'm not about that on my channel personally. If people are being rude and disrespectful, they're gone.
Right.
But that's just me. We all have our different levels of boundaries.
Yeah. I didn't, and there was a couple of times where it said hide or show, and I'm pretty easygoing with silly questions like, oh, will it make your penis grow? Well, that got the question came out, should I hide this or show this? I'm as long as, we were kind of being silly anyway.
We were talking about that subject.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so I'm pretty cool. So
do you want to make me a moderator as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, I got to find your name again. Here we
I
go.
just wrote haha because I watched the chat as well.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't think of you because I thought because you're already in here.
Yeah, I won't be able to like remove anyone's comments if I'm not a moderator.
Oh, okay. I thought because you were a host in the show.
No, you have to, because I'm not on YouTube. It's your channel. So shall
he said he was trying to figure out how he can ban himself.
You can't ban yourself, Anton. I'll just write Anton's name again. I don't know if I think it's changed. Yeah, it's changed now. That's it. It's just in case. It's good to have for you, because if those people aren't there one week and you've got nobody, then some people don't have moderators, but I personally think it's good to have them because it shows there's boundaries. And
no, that's great. That's awesome. Okay. Well, does anybody, okay, you guys, so we got a couple of guys promoted. Yay to you guys. Well, so what,
so what's Alpha, sorry, can I say, what is Alpha Omega's question? Like, what's up with him? What's going on?
He's
disturbing the chat.
Oh yeah. What's going on with that? Should I go back and look?
Well, I'm just asking him, like, is there a problem?
I just asked a simple question. Let me look. Why would you ban anyone?
He's talking about another show, I think, but like, take it elsewhere. Sorry, I know it's your channel, but I'm like,
no, you're cool. You're cool.
It just, disrupts what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that it was something about somebody banning somebody from a different show or something like that.
Yeah, I think he was on Heidi.
Okay, so here's the deal, you guys. If you were disruptive on somebody else's show,
which it was,
okay, then as long as when you come here, just learn your lesson, okay, and don't be disruptive here. You'll get banned if you are disruptive here. I'm not gonna have you banned because you made a mistake. Okay, so there's a forgiveness policy here. Just learn your lesson. Okay, it's really simple. So, anyways, that's it. I don't know anything about it. I'm just kind of making a comment here, and and I believe that everybody should get opportunities to try again.
Because I was talking about shadow again. That would have been another thing in the past. I would have been afraid to speak up.
Yeah, good for you, by the way.
Way before YouTube, I wouldn't have spoke up. I would have. And I'm like, no, screw this. Like, a load of people have been upset with me because I banned them off my channel.
Okay, so the question Alpha's asking is, have you forgiven your parents?
Now, and who's he talking to?
I don't know. Are you talking to me or to Trisha?
And what should I be forgiving?
Are you talking to somebody in the chat?
Shadow people. Like, what's he talking about? Sorry, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Okay, so I don't know. I'll let you answer and I'll answer because I'm not really sure exactly what he's talking about. All of you. Okay, so I guess he's talking about everybody in the chat. I know.
He wants to know if everybody in the chat's forgiven their parents.
Okay, so I have forgiven my parents, and my dad and I have an amazing relationship. I mean, he's a sweetie pie, and
I would like to ask that question back to Alpha Omega. Has he forgiven his parents?
Yeah, that's a good question. Have you? And yeah, definitely. That would be a question we want to ask you.
My father's passed. I know even someone's dad, you can still be unforgiving. But let's just say when my father passed away, anything that I might have been irritated with in the living world, when he was alive, just went. It was gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a lot of times you can actually contact the spirit. I've done that with some of my clients. Now it gets a little woo-woo here, but I've actually had them like go into a deep trance and get into the light and actually see the parent and have a conversation with them and do the whole forgiveness thing. And I'm telling you, that's pretty profound because what they always present themselves as completely different. Like alcoholic dad presents himself as like angelic person that is, whatever. And it's like,
I just have to say, when my dad passed personally, like I say, it was his birthday today. It'll be 3 years at Christmas. I had it all just went, it like melted away. I felt nothing but positive for him.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother's still alive, so that's a different sort of kettle of fish. But yeah, my father.
I have an amazing relationship with my mom and my dad, and they're, you know, both of them. And I don't know. I mean, they're different people now, and, you know, and I believe that people can change, and I've changed. So, you know, and if I've went from emotional basket case to calm and cool and collected and easy to let go of things, then, you know, other people can change too. And so I give that space for people to be able to change. I mean, some people don't want to change. They just have to want to, you know.
Our names, Amiga, are on the Zoom, and they're also in the description of the title. Our names are on Zoom.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think the biggest person you have to forgive is yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Forgiveness of yourself is probably the, you know,
well,
just
a lot of people don't grasp that though, Trisha. And it's, you know, it's, why would I forgive myself for getting angry with him? He was a dick. He was horrible. He was this, he was that, you know. It's like, yeah, but it's when you forgive somebody and then you forgive yourself for hating them.
So I don't know whether this person's just being really naive or is just trying to wind us up. Zoom is the, well, where you're looking at us on.
Yeah, this is we're actually I'm
sorry, I could be really wrong here and judging wrong, but it just seems like you just want to like ask really strange questions, and I'm not stupid anyway.
That's it's not worth like talking about. Yeah, anyway, so bottom line is that the thing is that okay, here, let me just stop real quick. Okay. It really doesn't matter, Alpha, but here's the thing. Okay. Yes, you're on YouTube. We understand that. The way that we stream is we use a program called Zoom.
And it says Zoom in big letters on YouTube, so you can't miss it.
At the bottom right-hand corner, it says Zoom really big, which means that's where we're airing from. Okay. So we're airing from Zoom. Okay. And if you actually take your little mouse and you put it on the top of like the picture and the bottom left-hand corner of my picture, if you put the mouse, hold on. If you put the mouse up, you'll see my name, and the same thing with Trisha's. Okay. So anyway, now can we move on from that?
When I'm getting irritated, I know somebody is taking the PISS, because I wouldn't normally be so irritated with somebody, but I know somebody is being passive aggressive when they're doing this. That's just my feeling.
Oh, he's on an iPhone and he didn't see it. Okay. All right. Okay. Well,
I'm pretty sure if you're on a phone, it tells you you're on Zoom.
Yeah. Well,
it's on a tiny little phone. It tells you on your phone. Sorry, but it does. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, and
yeah, and I think we've kind of get past the subject. I think
I think you've had your attention now.
Yeah. All right. So let's just move past that. All right. So anybody have any questions about shadow work? That's what this is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
Not how we're airing. So
now I'm asking if I'm mad. So this is just like,
just let it go.
I would like to remove them, but not my channel.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's just let it go for a sec. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions about shadow work? Any questions whatsoever? All right.
Any like, I guess I could say no question's a daft question, but like sensible questions.
Yeah. Anything about does shadow work exist? Okay. All right. So I think that may be time.
Does shadow work exist?
I just removed him.
Yeah, it's just been this person's just, that's 2 lives that have been on tonight causing trouble. This type of person, in my opinion, and I am going to speak out now, I've met these people, males, they're just passive aggressive and they want to cause trouble and make people angry because they're full of anger themselves.
Mm-hmm. Should I hide this person from the channel, or because I put them in timeout? So do I?
It's up to you. I've already blocked him on my channel, so.
Okay, well, there he goes. He's gone.
It's up to you. It's your channel, but he's blocked on my channel.
No, he just went a little too far. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so he's done. All right, you guys, Iowa and why am I having a brain fart here? Anton, in the future, when you pay attention to the chat, if you see that it's like off subject and distracting and all this other stuff, like, you know, pay attention to how often you see that Trisha was getting upset, so that she doesn't like.
Because I just want to like intuitively, like, I don't just do that with everybody. You just know when somebody is purposely doing this. It's not.
Yeah, it got to a point where you could see that this is out of control. I mean, I tried to do a little forgiveness here, and like, okay, let's move on, and it just kept on going. It was just stupid questions that are like, we're sitting here talking about shadow work, you guys, and he asked, this is the whole time he's been on here, that's what we're talking about, and then he asked, does it really exist? Like, that's dumb. Okay. So in the future, anybody starts behaving that way, so that we don't have to like interrupt what's going on, our talk. And if you start seeing a little emotional reactions, like from either one of us, just go ahead and handle this. Okay.
Because say if they block someone and they've got it wrong and they jump the gun with somebody, you can unblock them. But like someone like him, I've learned the hard way through YouTube, and now there's just I won't put up with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, so we're good. We're good.
So Dana said, I've been taught when you release and heal yourself, you also heal 3.5 generations behind you and the next 3.5 generations. I don't know about the figures, but I imagine just something.
Okay, so this is actually really interesting that she's saying this. I was watching something about collective healing, and they were talking about when certain people like do certain things, that when multiple people do that, like you start creating a collective of healing, and it like expands. So it's kind of like when one person gets a thought, then it's already in the collective. So it's easier to tap into it. Like they were doing this research, and they like this one, I can't remember what it was actually called, but they were doing all this research on a thought that's already been created, but don't tell anybody about it. And let's see how fast they can figure this out. Okay. And the ones that had the answer had not been obtained yet took a certain amount of time, like 2 hours to figure out. But then once the answer was created and it was hidden and nobody knew about it, it took them like 30 minutes to figure out. And so it's kind of that collective thought that kind of gets in there. And so I kind of feel like the answer to that is kind of like what she's saying, is that you're kind of healing the collective is what it's saying. Yeah. Because
particularly in the generations of your family, I feel.
I actually agree with that. So I thank you for bringing that up, Dana.
And you could be healing other people that aren't even in your family as well.
Right, because it goes into the collective. Collective. Yeah, it goes into the collective. It's the thoughts in the air. It's like when the thoughts are already created and the feelings are created and they're put out, and then it's easier to tap into and it's easier to receive. And so if one person forgives, then it's easier for everybody in the family to forgive. That's why the healing happens in the generations in front of you. I don't know. I mean, at least that's what my thought is. I don't know. What is your...
But I do feel that, you can heal the generations before and after by healing yourself.
I agree with that. I mean, if you have any other thoughts on that, that would be interesting to talk about.
And I've heard other healers talk about that too, about healing the generations. I don't know about 3.5, whether the figures, but I just know it works on future and past.
Well, I can tell you what, when I forgave my father, when I actually told him and we had this whole conversation, it was like the healing in him, the healing in me and my forgiveness and that release healed him.
Mm.
And the healing in him healed a lot of other things,
Yeah.
so it did expand. It went outside of my dad into my brother, into my sister, into my mom. I mean, it expanded into other areas and other people. And because he was forgiven, because he was, he started to heal through the fact that I let it go, and all the pain that he was creating all stopped. It took my love and acceptance for him to get there. I can see how the whole thing ends up happening,
It's like that Ho'oponopono that I often mention, the Hawaiian mantra. The idea behind that is you're at zero, so you're not judging anyone, you've forgiven, and people that you may have been around will show up differently. They won't react in ways that, because you are not, and it's all invisible, but you're giving off a different vibration.
I agree with that. I totally agree. But do you see what she just said? She says all in DNA and light. Okay, I have a question about that, Dana. So, Trisha, I don't know if you've heard this before, but basically in a DNA strand, you've got those lines that go across, and some people call it not DNA. But actually, it's stored memory, and it's stored memory from everything that's happened in your past and everything that's happened in your family's past, generations. And everything you have in generations are stored in the DNA. So all those memories of everything that's ever happened is stored in that DNA. Okay. So when I have my two children, they picked up my stored DNA, and then their children are going to pick up their DNA that stored their memories and all the way back. Okay. But my question about that is, if it's stored in the DNA, how does it heal the past DNA? Now, I can see that if you're kind of like changing dimensions and you're kind of getting into things from a different angle, like altering time and all that kind of stuff. But I'm curious of what your thoughts are and how you can do 3 generations or 3.5 generations back if the DNA is already created. Okay. And that's the part that I'm not understanding how you're getting that. And I've
heard that talked about before by others saying about past generations. I have heard others.
But she's talking about it being in the DNA. And I can understand this whole past generations, because that kind of goes back to the whole inner child work.
It is in the DNA, because epigenetics has proven that your DNA can be changed. Because, when people say, oh, cancer's in the family or heart disease in the family. Well, epigenetics has proven you can change your DNA.
Okay. But this sounds almost magical, and I'm buying into it. Okay. And I like it. But I'm just curious, because if I change my DNA, is it literally going back in time and changing my dad's DNA?
Oh, I don't know about that bit.
And my dad's father, because she's saying 3 generations behind you.
Yeah, I've heard that from others, but she's saying that she's been taught when you release and heal yourself, you heal 3 generations behind and the next. It's all in the DNA. I've heard that. I don't know how it works with the past. I can see the future.
I can see the future. I don't know how it works in the past. The only thing I can think of is that it's sort of a magical thing. It's sort of like, when you change the past, and I'm kind of wondering if that's what it is.
If they're still alive, like you said, you forgive your dad, so he's a generation behind.
But I'm wondering if it's kind of like, how they talk about time anomalies. Like, so if you change time, then everything gets altered in time and you change the timeline. So I'm wondering if that's the case, if it's something like that. I'm not
fully sure on the past. I'm not an expert on that, but I have heard many people talk about it. Even if they're deceased, I've heard actually further back than 3 generations from some people that you could heal, but I couldn't explain to you.
Yeah, I would really, Dana, I would really like some more information on that. And if you could like figure out.
We're all connected and we carry all our ancestors' memories in us. Yeah.
No, and I understand that, but how do you change the memories, their memories of the past? If you're, I mean, the only thing I can think of, like I said, it's a time anomaly thing.
Yeah. Well, I know epigenetics has proven now, you can save cancers in your family. You can change that because it's not in your family. It's just that your family, you've carried on their thought processes, their way of, it's in the DNA, which can be changed to stop the trigger of the, because we've all got cancer in us or the cells, but you can change it. It's been proven. And it's all about your thoughts, and it's about changing, which will change your DNA. Like, you know.
Well, I understand that for the future. I'm still.
Yeah, I do, but I don't really know how it works with the past. I'll be honest. That's not.
Well, I don't either. I don't either. And this is really a good subject, and I would like to.
It is. I've heard of it, but I couldn't.
I would like to know about it.
I've probably not really listened properly when I have heard people talk about it, but so I can't really fully answer that. But I guess for us, is what's more important is now and the future. For me, anyway, that's just the way I would say it. Because if they're not alive anymore, but like she says, I can understand to a point. We're all connected.
I mean, this is actually something that would really be even kind of cool to research if people were alive. So like, if you had a couple of generations that are alive and you heal yourself, what I would like to see what ends up happening to the person. You know,
she said she's going to send you some information. Diane Hill is a wonderful teacher. There's too much to put here, so she's going to send you some stuff.
Yeah, let me put my email should be in the comments section, but there's been a couple of times that all the stuff that I typed up didn't go through. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in here right now. And does anybody else have any questions? Anything else that we want to ask or go over? Thank you, Dana, for bringing that up. It was really good information. Anybody have anything else about shadow work or healing or questions or different theories or something interesting to
I just know there are people that do shadow work, but in a very different way that I don't really understand.
Yeah, I would like to know more about that, because
where they hide in the shadows and do healing on people, but I do not understand how that works.
I've never even heard of that.
That's what they class as shadow work. That's very different to what we're talking about.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Where they're hidden, yeah, they're in the shadow. They're not obviously out showing themselves. I don't fully understand the ins and outs of that.
Okay, well, you know what? If you do get more clarity on that and you want to bring it back up again, we can revisit the subject, because I actually think shadow work is really interesting. And so, are you afraid of your own shadow? Obviously Trisha isn't, because she's got hers right behind her. Yeah. Afraid of my own shadow? No, that's a silly question.
Can I answer that? I used to be a little bit afraid of losing my, when I said about the anger, I was a bit afraid of really facing that anger, because I said anger scared me in other people. I was scared of facing it in myself because I thought I'd lose absolute control.
Oh,
and it'd be really ugly.
That's interesting. When I then think about it from that perspective, and I don't think I've ever been afraid of any kind of shadow within myself.
I think I was afraid to show it, because I didn't want to be that person that lost control, like the people I judged, to which I hold my hands up,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I wouldn't say.
I don't think there's anything that I'm afraid of. Like there's no inner killer that wants to come out.
Yeah, because if you're hiding, the more you hide, then the more people have got stuff on you. If you hide, I'm not saying tell everybody your every thought, but if you got nothing that you're ashamed of or about yourself and you love yourself, people have got nothing on you, have they?
Well, a lot of people have things that they're ashamed of and things they've done in the past, and they're not happy with their reactions or the behavior or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people like that. In fact, most people are like that. Like, people are ashamed of overeating and eating 5 meals in one day or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of things that people are afraid of, but I don't think that not afraid of, but ashamed of, but I don't know that they would be afraid of that. And so, like, I don't really have anything in my shadows that I'm afraid of, but there's been things in my past that I didn't like about myself, and I healed that and corrected it. Bottom line.
Well, we'll put that question back to Anton. What about you?
Yeah, there you go. Well, Anton and I actually had a long conversation about this, so I don't know if he's even going to bring that one up. I know why he's bringing that up. So, yeah. But
are you afraid of your shadow side, Anton? I think that's one thing I admire about Anton, because, like, I know a lot of people get upset by him, but he does what I probably want to do, where he calls people out on their BS, let's say. He will.
I actually think that's good. You know.
So I admire that about him, because he won't just attack someone. He'll be, I'm calling out in your BS because it's fact, not I'm just making this up to be an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I like about him, probably because I wish I could be more like, it's something I would like to be a bit more myself, and I have it in me. But with what I do, you can't just go around calling everybody out on there.
I actually find humor in people that are like that. There's, I have a friend, his name is Travis Thorpe, and he's on my Facebook channel, and he's a witch. He's actually a real high level priest, and in a version of Wicca. I'm not sure which one, but it's some kind of Wiccan type thing. And he's always posting some very controversial stuff. And he actually posted this picture of, this is what people pretend like Wiccans about. This is what it really is. And there was a picture of all these hippies outside, like, partying, and this is what they pretend like they're like, and this is what they're like behind the scenes. And there was, like, this naked guy, and there was a woman with some kind of, like, knife poking at his chest, and it was dark in the background. And anyway, and this one woman who's Wiccan, like, totally flipped out on him and, like, said some really horrible things to him. And it was really funny. I mean, he just came right back at her. And I was like, and I busted out laughing. I was sitting reading this whole thing, and I go, Travis, you are a button pusher. And he goes, no, I'm a truth speaker outer. And he goes, I just speak the truth and people don't like it. And
I've started to be a bit more like that, but trust me, there is so much more I really would like to say, because there's just, but I have to, at the moment, I don't know whether I'm just being cautious because I think it'll affect my reputation, or I'm hiding in the shadow.
Well, okay. So this is interesting, because Anton and I just had this whole conversation, but a lot of times you have to go to the opposite extreme to be able to find that middle ground, and you're trying to seek for the middle ground, but it's difficult to see a middle until you experience the other side.
Because I've been there.
It's almost like you really need to be like a Travis or an Anton.
Yeah.
And then you can find the middle.
Yeah, because like he's put, then you get accused of hiring me, because people think he speaks up for me when he doesn't. He speaks up because he wants to. Mm-hmm. I don't ask him to do nothing. In fact, but people will think I'm winding him up so he'll speak out for me, and I don't. But maybe that's a lesson for me. I need to be speaking out like he does, but only when it's necessary.
Yeah, so he just kind of brought this up, that he admitted all this stuff. Okay, well, yeah, he did, and we talked about that, and I think it's really great, because now he recognizes that he didn't like this side over here.
The extreme.
And he doesn't like this side over here. And so now he's seeking the middle, but he can see the middle because he's seen both sides. See, it's very difficult, because you're a perfect example of, I don't really know, like,
I haven't gone to the far.
You don't know where it's too far and what's too not. And you've got to kind of, literally, you need to just jump over the edge and just start being crazy.
Trust me, if I like expose,
let's encourage some crazy from Trisha.
No, because it could be quite, but it wouldn't be lies. It would be the facts, like the things that people have sent to me that I know about people in this so-called community would make people's hair curl, and I've kept zipped about a lot of it. Like, and I've so wanted to just expose people, but then I think, is that good for my reputation? Is that good for business? Like, do I really want to go there? So I've been in this, you know.
Well, I think it depends on the reason that you're doing it.
It's not just to attack someone because, like, oh, I don't like that person, I think I'm going to attack them. No, they're the ones that have come to attack me, and I've got the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And they just think it's okay to do that with no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
But is it teaching me to speak up for myself more?
I think that you do need to speak up for yourself more. But
and there'll be a few people get a few shocks, trust me.
But I also think that you need to really just allow the shadow self to come out and let it like hang out for a little while, and then you can have a thermometer, a gauge of where you want to be. Like, okay, that was too much. And this is like what I was talking about before, about really feeling the emotions and then asking yourself, did this serve me? Well, in the process of doing that particular exercise, sometimes that in itself can be kind of uncomfortable because it's so different than what you've done before. But it also helps you acknowledge where you need to go and what you want and what you don't want. And you can really see the picture a lot clearer if you experience both sides, you know?
A good example is
judgmental, you know, and it might help you with your anger thing too, because then you're like, woohoo, I got permission to be, you know.
Well, a good example is when I stopped doing, not daily, but nearly daily free mini readings. And I got this epiphany one night, hanging the washing out as you do at nighttime. I was like, I got to stop this. This is disempowering. This is not healthy for people. And I literally stopped them overnight. And it was amazing. The reception I got was, some people were very supportive and agreeing it's very disempowering, and then others like totally, you know, turned and thought I was shooting myself in the foot and I was going to ruin my business, blah blah blah. And who was it that mentioned this yesterday? Somebody I was listening to, I was talking to, and they agreed that people have daily readings, it's not healthy. It's disempowering. It's quite dangerous, actually, because people get addicted to it. Oh God, who was it that was saying it?
Well, I agree with that. I think that they get addicted to it. They become too dependent on it. It's like, do a reading, because then they, instead of thinking for themselves, they're like, oh, my
card, giving their power away all the time.
Is my numbers right? Can I do this today? Can I do, you know, oh, well, shit, she said this, so I can't go outside. You know, it's like you're letting somebody else rule your life, and then you're not living out your path and the map that was created for you, you know? You're like,
yeah, it was my guest today. Georgie, she brought it up. We weren't even going to talk about that. She brought it up for some reason, and she said it's disempowering. It's not healthy for people to be having readings every day. And like Robin said, they use it as a crutch, but trust me, it's not. It is not healthy, and I see so much of it on YouTube and on Facebook. For example, when I worked for the TV company, even people would pay to have daily readings. It's just not healthy, and that was an example where I could have shut up and just carried on doing them. But I didn't. I'm like, no, I'm going to make a stand. This is not healthy, and I'm not going to conduct what I do. And I got some backlash for it.
Well, I mean, there might be a middle ground in there. Maybe you could do once a month or something like that.
Yeah, I've been thinking, you know, maybe do it every now and again. But I'm seeing too many people having them every day, and it's the same people in this community. What you could say community. I don't even like using that word because, to be honest, right, you've triggered me now, so let's get Trisha. It half the time isn't a goddamn community because they're all backstabbing each other. It's not what I call a community.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Well, you gotta, the way that I do, I just learned this the hard way. I sit back and watch people until I see their true colors.
That is exactly. And I've sat back as been a YouTuber, you could say, and watching other people and I hardly going in most chat rooms these days. And I do watch some and I just observe. Mm-hmm. I've learned the flipping hard way, and it's not a community half the time because most of them are backstabbing each other. And I don't even like using that word, sadly.
There are some good ones. Okay.
There probably are, but yeah. I'm not witnessing it, right?
Yeah. Well, I've seen some good ones, but I'm still in the process of examination as well. So I don't know 100%, but, I've seen some, but there's a lot of them that aren't, and the thing is that if people are supporting each other, it's different than.
I'm in a good group on Discord, which they're on YouTube as well, some of them. That's a really great bunch that I'm in, but it's quite a small group, and I'm not going to use the word community. Really great group, but
which one is this?
Discord is, well, it used to be mainly for gamers, but they're like little chat rooms and you can talk to each other and stuff. But some of them I'm not going to name names, are on YouTube, and we've got a great group going but it's small, because I find if you get it too big, it gets too diluted and you don't have that same, it doesn't stay the same.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but
that's true.
That's a good idea, Iowa. You should do them time for the moon phases. Yeah, I could do them maybe at the full moon and half, not full, half moon, new moon and full moon. I could probably do 3 mini readings. I just don't want to be doing it all the time because it's just not healthy.
Right.
I
agree with that. I think
Anton said, "Get her going, Michelle."
I know.
Don't get me going now.
I'm like, come on, Trish, feel those feelings, let it out.
Yeah, it probably would feel really good, but I've got a bit of it out there.
Yes, you did, and that's good. That's good.
Idiots saying that you have issues because you're concerned about the plot to ruin your business. How else were you supposed to feel? Yeah, true. I was accused of having. Anyway, we're getting off track, but yeah, I was accused of having issues because people were trying to ruin my business because I stood up for myself.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and this is a community.
Yeah, well, not everybody is, team players, okay? And like I said, over time, here's the thing, this is what I figured out, is if you sit back and you watch long enough, eventually people show the true colors.
Yes.
So the biggest problem with most people is they trust too easily and too fast instead of just sitting back and watching to see what they're going to look like, like what is their patterns in their behavior. And, Anton has a pattern in his behavior. He cuts up, he's silly, he makes jokes, he's funny, but then he's really serious about certain things, and he's very protective, and he's got a good heart. So these are patterns that you've seen. Okay.
Yeah. And that's one thing with him, where you start. I'll be honest. He's never bothered me. He's never irritated me. Even when he goes off on it's weird how another person.
Exactly. But you see the pattern though, you're sitting here watching this pattern, right? And
he's consistent with that pattern.
Right. Exactly. He's consistent with the pattern. So people can only play nice for a while. And then if somebody pushes their buttons the wrong way, they're going to and so you'll start to see a person's character develop over time and how they interact with you. And that's the bottom line.
Another way is saying no to somebody when you set a boundary and say no, how they react to that. If you need to say no for something, that's a good test of somebody's, if they'll accept it gracefully or whether they'll flip out on you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But anyways, it's getting late, you guys. It's 30 and
it's 4:30 now. It's 4:20. Isn't that I was going to say the drug hour. That's wrong. 4:20 is the marijuana hour, isn't it? Or time?
Yeah. Well, for me, I gotta drive home, and tomorrow's my early day, so I gotta be I'll be back up here super early.
Yeah, and I've done 2 lives tonight, which don't feel sorry for me because I love doing them, so it's not hard work. But yeah, it's been an interesting day.
Yeah, definitely.
I was supposed to do a show last night and had to reschedule it, but I've got Misha Johnston coming on the 6th of September, but we're doing it at 11 p.m.
So are you actually reaching out to these people? And are they reaching out to you?
No, I reach out to them because a lot of them I've either know them through the radio show I used to do, or Merlin, my friend, says, "Oh, I think you're really like so-and-so. Would you like me to connect you?" And he does. And I don't just pick anybody though. Like I said earlier, and I said to Suzanne, I want quality people. I'm not just going to have anybody on as a guest.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to promote someone who I don't feel comfortable with just because they might be really popular, but they might be really like negative, and I don't want to promote anybody that doesn't feel comfortable for me to sit talking to them for an hour or so.
Mm-hmm. I totally understand.
Like Georgie today, you know, she was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited about watching it. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
So, all right, you guys. It is time for us to exit out of here.
But next week we're doing. Can we just? Anton's agreed to come on with us.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to talk about karma. Yes. So you guys get to see Anton's pretty little face
again.
Yeah. So
he hasn't been on camera for a while.
Yeah, he's going to actually join us, and we're going to talk about karma. So this will be fun, and yeah.
Anton's dream come true.
Oh, and then the following, yeah, I know, really. Hey, and you guys, the following week on September the 12th, we also have one other guest that is going to be really exciting. Is Sandra D is going to be on here. We're going to be talking about twin flames.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, I was just trying to think. I'm sure it's twin flames.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that too. She's super excited about it too. And so that's going to be fun. If you guys don't know who Sandra D is, you can check out her channel, but she's actually Jeff.
I think a lot of people here will know that she's Jeff's fiance as well. Yeah. As well, not just Jeff's fiance. She's Sandra D.
Yeah. So
they do work together, don't they, as well?
Doing shows, like they have a channel.
Together. Of stuff they're going to be doing. I think they're starting to get that out there now.
I think they're kind of working in that way, kind of like they do some stuff together, but I think they both have, like, she has a full-time job too. And so
Jeff's fiance will be on, Sandra D will be on us on the 12th, which will be, so that'll be when we're back here. So we're on my channel next week and back on your channel with Sandra.
Yeah, so it'll be on my channel with Sandra D. So next week, we're on Trisha's channel. Anton's going to be our special guest. And then the following week, it'll be back on my channel, and it'll be Sandra D.
Yeah.
So the next couple weeks are going to be fun. Yeah.
He's going to have the platform.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys.
Karma's an interesting one because he has a very different take on karma. And I'll be honest, it's not one, I have my view on karma, but we all have different views what karma really is.
Alyssa, are you just now joining us, sweetheart, or have you just been sitting in the
Is that a friend of yours?
Yeah, actually it is.
Maybe she's been watching, but we're just
I don't know. Maybe she has, but anyways, okay, you guys. So Alyssa, if you are just joining us, watch the replay. So again, lots going to be happening over the next few days. I mean, next few weeks. So
if you're not sub to my channel, go and sub to my channel if you're new to me.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. So we forgot that little announcement. You guys, if you like Alyssa and just joining, okay, Alyssa, you're going to have to watch the replay because we're about to end this thing. But what you need to do is, if you are not subscribed to Trisha, make sure you go to her channel and subscribe, because next week Anton's going to be on there. It's going to be a really good show. You want to make sure you're getting the notifications, so make sure you subscribe. Okay. So
thumbs up if you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, please, everybody hit the thumbs up. Okay. I've got 11 thumbs up. So if you haven't said that you liked it, please like it. I appreciate it.
13 now, it's going up. Oh, and just another thing quickly, I will have the rest of the star signs out for September in the next couple of days, because I had to have some rest time for about a week. So I only got to Gemini.
Oh, by the way, Alyssa, hopefully you're still on. This is the girl I was telling you about that does the numerology. She's who you need to get in contact with. So make sure that you actually look at the contact information on the description and get in contact with her, because she's the one I was telling you about. Okay.
And if she is really interested, it's buy one, get one free until the end of the month. You don't have to have your reading.
Okay, good. Yeah, so her contact information should be in the description. And if it's not, once this whole thing downloads, I'll put it back in there so you can check.
So you get twice for your money, double for your money. If you want to book, you don't have to have it till September, but as long as it's paid for before the end of August, you get double whatever I'm not saying you have to, but if you want it, there's double. So make the most of it.
We were actually chatting about you. You know, I told her, I said, you should talk to Trisha, because she was wanting to know about her purpose.
So she might want a full numerology chart. Yeah. So if she wants a chart, you can have a chart and you don't have to have a reading with it, because the price is separate. But if she gets a chart, which is 38 pages, she can then have another one for someone else at no extra cost.
Okay.
Like a partner, friend, loved one, whatever.
Oh, cool. All right. Okay, you guys. Thank you for the couple of people that just put the thumbs up. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. It's been fun tonight. And again, great time with you guys. And I guess that's it. Y'all have a good evening.
Yeah. And I'm going to go to bed in a minute. Well, probably not straight away, but soon.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Lots of love.
Bye, you guys.